Okay.
I'm very scared of water.
Do you know how to swim?
Sorry?
Do you know how to swim?
No.
You never taught?
I've tried many times, but I just never succeeded.
And you've done now, you've not tried
Go
it.
back on and actually.
I've been trying over.
This is
over
what I
years.
did.
Yeah, no. As soon as the water gets here, I'm like,
Would you enjoy being in the water, like,
I'm
not
here.
International
Yeah,
Day.
definitely.
International Day.
Okay, let's see if we can collect our few people. Are we still connected?
Yeah, I can just call them.
Yeah, okay, let's reconnect.
And then what are you gonna teach me?
Good, thank you.
What are you gonna teach me?
I'm gonna teach you how to live your life to the full. And I can teach you everything that you know.
I want everybody to teach me English.
Kevin, are you here?
The question is, what are you teaching?
Yep.
Okay,
I
cool.
can teach you how to make flautas. No, that's with chicken, sorry. Like beef with the hands and tacos.
Yep, we're starting right now.
Some curry, lentils,
Okay. This presentation is going to cover a few different things. So I'll explain it as we go along. And I think now we're connected to everybody, right? I think so. Okay. So my goals for this presentation are for you to understand some principles of leadership. We've talked about some of them. Now we're going to get a little more structured. And again, to understand leadership styles. Okay. And first I'm going to describe some principles of leadership. And then I'm going to describe leadership personalities as defined by Myers and Briggs. So, how many of you have heard of the Myers-Briggs personality test? A few. Okay? I'm going to give it to you to take at home over the next 2 days. Myers and Briggs were a mother and daughter team. Okay? And they created this personality survey in the 1960s. Their work was based on the original ideas of a psychologist named Carl Jung. And Carl Jung was a very close friend of Sigmund Freud. They were good friends, but they completely disagreed with each other. Okay? So Carl Jung said, you are born with your personality, and you have one of 4 basic personality types. And we're going to go through that. This is one of the major personality leadership descriptions we're going to do. Okay? In Freud, and we're going to talk about Freud's beliefs in a different class, Freud said, no, you're born with a blank personality, and your parents make you what you are. Okay? And so today we're going to talk about this philosophy of leadership that is, you're born to be what you are, and that makes a certain type of leader for you. And we're going to go over that and try to understand it. Okay? And most of the video clips are not working because it's on this computer instead of that computer. We'll see a few. We'll all live. Okay? Let's get out of it sooner. Okay? And then, when we're done today, I'm going to give you 2 types of personality assessments, and I want you to do them, score them. We'll go over it right at the end of the class. And then we'll talk about them when we get together again on Thursday. Okay? Okay. So first of all, I have, now I think our colleagues who are videoed or audioed in, the video people, the Skype people can see this. Can they see it there? Okay. So there are 2 pictures. Who are these people? Anybody know?
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Caesars, maybe?
Looks like a Caesar. It's Attila the Hun. Okay? Were they both effective leaders? Yeah. How many people have heard of Attila the Hun? It was a big deal, okay? I mean, he, a long time ago, it was maybe about 2,000 years ago, he got to India he got to Italy, and he took over all of the center of Europe and Asia. Okay, and he's viewed as a crude leader.
Like he was a warrior, right?
Warrior leader. But we're going to learn that he actually, there are some personality characteristics that he demonstrated which were very valuable in leadership. Okay? First we're going to talk about Lincoln now. Okay. So, and again, I'm going to give you all these, and these are important to learn. Okay? So, I'm saying important to learn because they are important. You need to know them for the exams and the quizzes too. Okay? Right? Because these are basic principles of leadership. First thing Lincoln did, Lincoln was President of the United States during the hardest time in the history of the United States, the U.S. Civil War, 150 years ago. Okay? And there was a great deal of fighting that went on, and the first thing that Lincoln did was he circulated among the troops. He's the President of the United States. He would go to the battlefield. And he would go not to the generals, he would go to the soldiers, and he would talk to them. He circulated among the troops. Why is that a good sign of leadership?
Give them hope.
Gave them hope,
Humble, down to earth.
down to earth,
Empathy.
empathy. From an intelligence perspective, what happens?
Social awareness,
I'm sorry?
like the awareness of the reality that is surrounding.
He finds out what's really happening. Okay? So if you're the director of a hospital and you're having trouble in the ICU, what do? Go to the ICU and ask people what's going on. Don't just ask the vice president who's responsible. Go yourself. Lincoln was very good at this. Okay? He built strong alliances. You cannot be a leader on your own. You have to make alliances, whether it's with other leaders, other organizations, other people. Okay? He was very good at persuading instead of coercing. So, does everybody understand the word coerce? What does it mean to coerce?
Force.
To force. Okay? Right? So, Adi, I'm going to make you do this. Well, that's quick, it's easy, and as we've talked about, in an emergency situation, maybe that's worthwhile. But if I can explain why I want you to do this, Adi, then you're going to understand it, and I'm talking you into it, you'll do it, and you'll do it much more easily, okay? Abraham Lincoln was a very honest man. That was just his personality, okay? And one of the things that he demonstrated was that honesty and integrity are the best policy. That's kind of a phrase, but let's think about that. If you are a leader and you lie to people, will they discover you've lied to them? Yes, you can assume that eventually people will learn that you've lied to them. And once you lie to someone, they can never trust you again. Think about it. This is true in relationships. It's true in marriages, okay? There may be bad news, tell the bad news. Don't lie about it. Be honest, okay? Even if it's hard to tell the truth, tell the truth. Okay, now I'm not trying to give you marriage counseling, okay? But as a leader in an organization, you have to be honest. If it's bad news, tell the bad news. Because people will, I've said this already, but I'm going to say it again. They can never trust you once you lie to them. Okay? Never act out of vengeance or spite. So, it's really easy as a leader. If you have the power, you become the leader, you have these people you don't like, now you can get them. Don't do it. Right? It's fun for a moment, but eventually it blows up on you. Okay? Have the courage to handle unjust criticism. As the leader, people will get angry at you. They will blame you. It's all your fault. Anyone had that experience? Where you've got a job and you're the boss and all of a sudden everybody's mad at you? Okay? Right? Okay? You have to know that that's going to happen. And try your best not to take it emotionally. That's just part of the job of being a leader. Having the courage to handle unjust criticism.
Why unjust?
just. I feel like it's easier to handle unjust criticism because you're like, well, it's not true, so I can let it go. But handling criticism that is just, like that's deserved, is maybe harder because you have to face.
Well, the assumption is that you must accept just criticism. That's part of the job. Okay, so it isn't even mentioned, I think, okay? So the just criticism, hey, you did it wrong, hold on one second, you did it wrong, sure, you're gonna be criticized. This is a situation where you didn't do anything wrong, and you're still being blamed. Omar?
How to handle false praise? Because there would always be people there trying to lift you up, saying, oh, you're amazing, you're great, you're this, you're that. How do you not get that into your head?
Well, and coming from an Indian, this is very common in India. It's part of the Indian culture. More so than, let's say, a Dutch culture or probably a Belgian culture. There's probably less false praise.
Having worked with Indians, I can say yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
right? So what do you do? Well, some of it depends on the culture. So if you're in India and you're given all this false praise, well, that's part of what it is. Okay, I mean, the letters that we receive from applicants, the world is filled with the best. This is the best student I've ever had, over and over again. It's always the best. Well, not everybody can be the best, okay? But that's part of the Indian culture, is to say they're the best. So if you're in India, you probably just accept it and you know that it's too much, okay? In other places, if you were in the United States, you would say, oh, it wasn't really me, it was all of us. So you back away from some of that praise, okay? In many cultures, you back away from that praise. You don't say, oh yes, I am the best there ever was. Okay, does that answer your question? It depends where you are though.
But can I use that tactic in India? Like, this is not, for example.
Not as much. Not as much, okay. Right? You have to be, I don't know, actually I should say, I also don't know. Watch, look at some leaders who you really respect and watch how they handle that. Okay? Okay, let's keep going. I think we're gonna run out of battery here too. When we do, we're done. Okay, be a master of paradox, and here's the paradox. You want to be both consistent and flexible. There are times to say, okay, you can do it your way and you can do it your way, and that's okay. And if Juan argues with me and says, hey, wait a minute, you're letting her do it this way and her doing it this way, I can say, yeah, I am, and there are reasons for that, and I'm comfortable with that. And then there are other times when I'm going to say, you've got to do it this way and you've got to do it this way, because the same way, that's it, these are the rules. And a good leader knows when they can be flexible and when they have to be consistent. Okay?
How do you manage to remain like the integrity part?
Because you know you're doing the right thing. You have the integrity to say, this time, they're different, the situations are different, I'm going to make a different decision, and I feel comfortable with that. Okay? And I don't care that you don't like it, because I know I have my own integrity, and that's why I'm doing it. Okay? I'm not letting them cheat. Okay? Okay. Exercise a strong hand, be decisive. Okay? This is very important. Okay? There's a time when you have to say, this is the decision I've made, or this is where we are going to go. And that's all, there's no choice. Okay? Lead by being led. This is a very complicated concept. It's called servant leadership. My wife is very good at this. And what she does is, she says, what's going to be good for the people who I'm responsible for? Goodbye, thank you. Okay? I will make my decisions based on what's good for other people. It's very common to see leaders make decisions that are good for them. First, how am I going to look? What's going to be good for me? Not what's going to be good for you.
But isn't that like female leadership proposed by Freud? Giving, caring?
Okay. But a good male leader
Should also do that.
should also do that. Okay? You're the father, you have to worry about your children, just as your mother does. Okay? That's my answer to you, okay? Set goals and be results oriented, okay? There's a lot of that in businesses today. You don't just say, we're gonna do a good job. We're going to have one new project a year, one new product a year, okay? That's our goal, and we will measure that. We have goals, we will expect results, and we'll measure them. This is something that most of you won't understand. Keep searching until you find your grant. In the U.S. Civil War, on the Northern Union side, there were bad generals. They kept losing. They were bad. Then finally, a man named Ulysses S. Grant became the head general. He was excellent. Lincoln kept firing his generals until he found the good leader. Okay, so if you're the boss, don't give up and say, oh, everybody's bad. Keep trying to get the right people, the right situation. And it's pretty obvious that encouraging innovation is important to do. Okay? If you can be a good public speaker, it's really important. Okay, master the art of public speaking. If you can't, if you're Moses, then find an Aaron who can speak for you. Okay? Lincoln was excellent at influencing people by conversation and storytelling. He told stories. I tell a lot of stories, okay, as examples, and sometimes my wife goes crazy because she's heard them about 100 times. That's what being married a long time does, okay, right? And then I refer to this, I tell her, no, this is what Lincoln did, it was good, okay? So, telling stories can be very valuable, a very good way to get people to understand. Preach a vision and continually reaffirm it. If you say, we are going to be the best international I-MPH program in the world, and you keep saying it, people will begin to believe it. It may or may not be true, but people will begin to believe it. Okay. There's a story that I tell. The Vice President of the United States at one point was a man named Dick Cheney. He worked for George W. Bush. Okay. They started the war in Iraq. And Cheney said Iraq was responsible for the World Trade Center bombing, the attacks, 9/11 attacks. That was not true. Very clearly demonstrated, not true. It was Osama bin Laden, different group of people, right, Al-Qaeda. But Cheney kept saying it over and over again for whatever reason, and people in America believed it. And when it came time to start the war in Iraq, people said, well, of course we're going to have the war in Iraq, because they destroyed the World Trade Center. They didn't. But he kept saying it over and over again. I'm not characterizing him as a good leader, but he was effective with this. Preach a vision and continually reaffirm it. It's boring for you, but important as a leader. Okay. We're going to quickly go through Attila. Different principles of leadership. Okay?
Just out of curiosity, did he write these down, Lincoln, or is this like determined by observation?
These are determined by historians who've looked at him. Okay? And certainly Attila didn't write anything down. Okay? Right? But look at these. These are personal characteristics. We don't need long to go through them. Loyalty, courage, desire, emotional stamina, physical stamina. It's very hard to be an effective leader if you're not healthy. You've got to be physically healthy and emotionally very healthy. Okay? Empathy. You need to care about the people you're responsible for. Okay? People are writing this down, so I gotta wait. Okay. Here we go. There are more. You want to be decisive. We talked about that already. Anticipation. There's a game called hockey. Everybody know what hockey is? On ice, ice skates, and there's a little puck that gets pushed around, right? One of the most famous hockey players was a man named Wayne Gretzky. And people said to him, Mr. Gretzky, how do you know, how are you so successful? And he said, I skate to where I believe the puck will be. He had the skill of whatever it was, of knowing where the future was going to be. So anticipation is a very good skill to have. Timing, knowing when to do things. being competitive. You know, we live in an era where in some societies people say, no, you don't want to be competitive. Don't make your children compete. Well, in leadership, you have to be aggressive and competitive, okay? You have to believe in yourself, self-confidence. And you have to accept responsibility. So even though, as Lincoln says, you may be unjustly criticized, you say, okay, fine, it's my job. You can be mad at me, okay? I'm accountable, I'm responsible. Okay. Then I think these are the last ones. Responsibility, credibility, tenacity. What does tenacity mean?
Continue with your objective you have.
You keep going. You stick to it. You don't give up. Okay? Very important in leadership. Gumption, yes. Right. Dependability, stewardship, you're responsible, you do it. Okay? Alright, now we are not going to spend a lot of time with this because we don't have a lot of time. These are examples of the 4 Myers-Briggs personality styles. They happen to be 4 soldiers from the United States. My wife likes to look over my shoulder when I'm doing my lectures, and she is always quite comfortable giving me feedback, whether it's invited or not. And she said to me, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to talk about these 4 examples of leadership. And she said, you're kidding. And I said, no, what's wrong with them? They're all men. They're all white men, okay? So, but I already did the videos, so we're going to use them. But you'll see, we have other people that we talk about, okay? So my apologies for picking these 4 white men. It was quite a while ago. I've been doing this for a long time. Back then, it was more common. Okay, we're going to talk about tactical, logistical, diplomatic, and strategic leaders. These are the Myers-Briggs personalities. So, when you're born, according to Myers and Briggs and Carl Jung, you're born with a certain personality, and then when you get a leadership job, you act based on that personality. So you're either a tactical leader, a logistical leader, a diplomatic leader, or a strategic leader. And when you take the Myers-Briggs, you're going to find out yourself which of these 4 you are. And we're going to talk about it when we meet again on Thursday. Okay? So let's define them. And whether we see the video clips, I think we'll see. Okay? A logistical leader is very good at logistics. What's logistics?
Organizing supply, time, practical stuff.
Practical stuff. These people are called guardians, sages. They do it the way we've always done it. We will guard against change. Okay? They're dependable, stable, traditional people. Okay? We have always done it this way. We're going to keep doing it this way. It works. They're patient, steady, reliable, and orderly. Things have to be done in order. Okay? If I give you a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're not going to talk to me about 2 until we've talked about 1. Everything goes in order. These kinds of people are most concerned about operational costs rather than results costs. What's it going to cost us to do this? I don't care what the profit's going to be. What's it going to cost to do it? And when you talk to them, they want facts, not theories. Okay? And one of the easiest ways to identify them is they're always on time. And they expect you to be on time. Have you been at meetings? Now this, we're going to talk when we talk about multiculturalism. Different cultures. We've already talked about this. They're smiling back there. On time means something different for you than it does for Elise. Okay? Right?
Well,
Right?
Yeah, but I'm always late.
Are you? What, have you had a boss who's on time?
Have I had a boss who's on time? Yeah.
Expects you to be on time? And when you're late with that boss, what happens?
It was accepted.
Not they accepted you. It's dangerous. Okay? Right? Okay? So, one of the things you want to do is not only understand yourself with these personality styles, but understand the people around you, particularly your boss, or the people who work for you. Okay? So if your boss is like this, then when you go to propose something to him or her, you want to propose specific, well-organized, laid out, numbered approach. Okay? If your boss has one of these other personalities, don't start, because they're not gonna like this. They're gonna be impatient with all your details, right? These are detail-oriented people, right?
We had a boss who was always late, and that frustrated everyone, so it was the opposite.
Okay, well, depends, maybe it was cultural, maybe it was just them, right? Because they didn't care about time. And there are some of these other personalities that don't care about time. So these are 4 people, these are all Americans, okay? George Washington you probably heard of. They were very, very skilled at being organized, okay? These people are called tactical leaders. They're also called artisans or commanders. They're where the action is, okay? They're immediate, concrete, very specific, literal people, okay? What kind of physician would this be?
A trauma or emergency?
Exactly, okay? You go to an emergency, and I